and welcome back to another session of control and coordination. Yes guys, we have already completed how control and coordination takes place in plants. And today in this session, we are going to discuss about how control and coordination takes place in case of animals. Yes guys, it's going to be a very interesting video because we are going to deal with how control and coordination takes place in animals. So here we are going to discuss about the nervous system and the endocrine system. But today we will focus only on your nervous system. So without further delay, let's get started with the control and coordination in animals. So guys, I have already told you what control and coordination means. We came across various important terminology like your stimuli, what is a response. Yes guys, what is a stimuli? It's nothing but the change in the environment. And response is nothing but how we respond to that change in environment. Yes guys, so how this response, how this stimuli, yes, is maintained in a perfect control and coordination in animals. So in case of your plants, there is no nervous system. Yes, that we have already discussed, but in case of animals, we have got two systems which comes under your control and coordinations. The first one is your nervous system and the second one is your endocrine system. Whereas the two systems which are involved in control and coordination in animals are your nervous system and endocrine system. And togetherly it is called as neuroendocrine system. Yes, your nervous system plus endocrine system togetherly can be called as your neuroendocrine system. What is neuroendocrine system, guys? When it involves both the nervous system as well as the endocrine system, then it is called as your neuroendocrine system. And we clearly know that nervous system involves your nerves and endocrine system involves the hormones. And I told you that hormones are nothing but the chemicals which is secreted by various glands present in the body of an animal. Yes, so today we are going to focus only on the nervous system. Nervous system, guys. Yes, what includes the nervous system? What are the organs which are included in the nervous system? First organ is the most important organ of our body, brain. So nervous system generally involves your three organs. Yes, how many organs, guys? The nervous system involves three organs. Brain, yes, brain, your spinal cord and nerves. Yes, what are the three organs which involves are the main part of the nervous system? What you are going to say? Yes, of course, the most important one, brain, spinal cord and nerves. Yes, and one important point I would like to tell you that brain plus spinal cord is called as your central nervous system. Yes guys, so these nervous system involves three main organs. Yes, what are the three main organs? What? Brain, spinal cord and of course nerves, which we are going to study right now, nerves. Yes, so what are the three systems which are involved in the nervous system? First one, brain. Second one, spinal cord, and third one is your nerves. And today we are going to discuss about what nerves are and how it forms the main part in case of your nervous system. So nervous system, nerves. So what are these nerves, guys? Can anyone tell me what are these nerves? These nerves are nothing but it's a thread-like structure. How are nerves? Nerves are thread-like structure which is present throughout our body from head till toe. How is the nerves look like? It looks like just like a thread, guys. Yes, it's a thread-like structure. First thing clear, it's a thread-like structure present throughout the body from head to toe. Yes, and these nerves, since we know that every organ in our body is made up of cells, then of course nerves are also made up of cells. No doubt in it. So these nerves are also made up of cells and that are called as your nerve cells or neurons. So what are neurons, guys? These are nothing but nerve cells which forms the nerves. So nerves are thread-like structure, nerves are made up of cells and that cells are called as your nerve cells or neurons. Neurons. Yes, understood now? So nerves are thread-like structure present throughout the body from head to toe. These nerves are made up of cells and that cells can be called as your nerve cells or neurons. Remember the word neurons. Neurons are nothing but nerve cells which makes the nerves. Yes guys, so it's made up of specialized cells which is called as your nerve cells and neurons. And what is the main function of this nerve cells or neurons? क्या करता है ये? What is the main function of these neurons? It sends the stimuli. Yes, it sends the stimuli. Understood what I mean now? It sends the stimuli or it receives the stimuli, conduct the stimuli and transmit the stimuli and send the message to the brain. This is the main function of your neuron. Yes, what is the main purpose of neuron is that it receives the change, it receives the stimuli, it conducts inside our body and sends that stimuli or sends that message to the brain or transmits that message to the brain. Remember guys, what is the main function of the neurons? The main function of the neurons is that it will receive the message, it will conduct the message and it will transmit the stimuli to the brain. Yes? Understood now what is the main function of these nerve cells, what is the main function of these neurons and what is the main function of these nerve cells. It will simply receive the messages, receives the stimuli, conduct the stimuli inside our body and transmit that stimuli or message to our central nervous system brain. Yes? So this is the main function of the neuron. Now I said it will transmit the message or it will send the message, but how? How it will send the message to the brain? Generally, the messages are traveled in the form of electrical impulse. Yes, electrical impulse. How electricity passes now? In the same manner, the messages are passed in the form of electrical impulse and that is called as your nerve impulse. Yes, that is called as your nerve impulse. So, messages generally transferred in the form of electrical impulse, which is called as your nerve impulse. Here comes a question, guys. Why only neurons are responsible to transmit the messages? Why? Come on, tell me. Can anyone tell me why? Yes, exactly why neurons are only responsible for this transmission and conduction of messages. Why? Why guys? Because some points are there. Why? Because first thing, neuron cells or nerve cells or neurons never ever divide. And we know that all the cells undergo cell division. We all know that the cells divides repeatedly, but in the case of your nerve cells, in the case of your neurons, yes, in the case of nerve cells, in the case of neurons, the cells doesn't divide. Yes, the cells doesn't divide. The first thing, why it is mainly responsible for the transmission of message. Why? First of all, the nerve cells never divides. Second important term is that neurons, these neurons are nerve cells. Whenever there is a damage occurring in the nerve cells or neurons, it will not be repaired. Yes, so these neurons are not repaired when injured. It will die. The neurons or the nerve cell will die. It will not get repaired. Yes, whenever there is an injury or whenever there is a mechanical injury to the neurons, it will be not repaired. Yes, so it will die and neurons will form immediately after birth. So when are the neurons are formed? The neurons are formed immediately after the birth of a child, birth of a baby. Yes, and the most important point is that it will die. The nerve cell will die. When? when there is an absence of oxygen. Yes, these are the 4 points which makes it responsible to transmit, conduct and send the message to the brain. What are the 4 points? First thing, it's formed immediately after the birth of a baby. Yes. Secondly, the nerve cell will never ever divide. Thirdly, it will die when there is an absence of oxygen, and it will never ever repair when worn out. Understood? So these 4 things are mainly responsible for transmitting the messages only by the nerve cells or neurons. Understood, guys? Why it is mainly responsible for the conduction and transmission of the message? Because of these 4 points. And hence we regard the neuron as the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Yes, now you got to understand why we call the neurons as the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Yes, why it is regarded as the structural and functional unit of nervous system? First thing is that it will conduct and transmit the messages. That is the most important. And messages are generally transferred in the form of electrical impulse, which is called as your nerve impulse, of course. Which is called as your nerve impulse. Yes, guys. And thirdly, what happened? It will die when there is an absence of oxygen. It will form immediately after the birth of the baby. It will never ever repair and it will never go cell division. And hence we called it as the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Yes, and we know that these nerves are thread-like structure present entirely in our body and made up of nerve cells and neurons. Understood? And one more thing I told you. What are the main organs which are involved in nervous system? What are the main organs, guys? Brain, done. Second one, spinal cord, done. Third one, nerves. Apart from these 3 main organs, the 5 sense organs of our body also plays a vital role in nervous system. What are the 5 sense organs, guys? Come on, quick. Eyes, nose, ears, yes, tongue, skin. The 5 sense organs also plays a very important role in nervous system, and what role they play we will be discussing in the later part of the video. Now you understood, guys, what is nervous system, what are nerves or neurons. These are thread-like structure present throughout the body. Yes, and why it is regarded as the structural and functional unit of nervous system. Now we have to see its structure of a typical nerve cell. How a nerve cell look like? Yes, we have to see how we know that nerve cell is the largest cell in our body. Let's see how the nerve cell is. How does it look like? What are the different structure which makes the... So guys, now let's see the typical structure of a nerve cell or a neuron. Generally, basically what happens now, this neuron consists of 3 main parts. Yes, and you can see the diagram over here. This is the diagram of one nerve cell, means neuron 1. Yes, it's a diagram of a single neuron, and this neuron or nerve cell consists of 3 main parts, guys. Yes, this nerve cell is made up of 3 main parts, and that 3 main parts are your cell body or cyton. Yes, cell body or cyton, first one. Second one is your dendrites. And the third one is your axon. So the nerve cell is made up of 3 main parts. What are the 3 main parts, guys? Yes, come with me. It's the first one is your cell body or cyton. Second one is your dendrites. And third one is your axon. And these 3 constitute and form a particular nerve cell. Yes. So what are the 3 basic structure which is present in the nerve cell? First one is your cell body or cyton. The second one is your dendrites. And the third one is your axon. And these 3 togetherly forms your nerve cell. And this is called as the first neuron or neuron 1. Understood, guys? So let's see what is cell body and how does it looks like. Yes, this is what your cell body is. Yes, this is your cell body or cyton. It seems as if spherical in shape, round in shape. It's very broad. Yes, the first thing is it's very broad and rounded part. Can you see it or not? This is a round, broad, spherical structure. Which one, guys? It's a cell body or cytosol. The cell body or cytosol, the first thing, it's spherical, round body or a broad part. Yes, the first part of nerve cell is, what is the first part of the nerve cell, guys? The first part of the nerve cell is your cell body or cytosol. Yes, the first part of a nerve cell or neuron is your cell body or cytosol. And what you have to write in the structure of the cell body? The first thing, it's a broad structure. It's a rounded structure. It's a spherical structure. It's a broad, rounded, spherical structure. Yes, since it is a cell, cytoplasm is present inside it. A very dense cytoplasm is present here. And since cytoplasm is present in this nerve cell, it is called as neuroplasm. What it can be called? A dense cytoplasm is present inside the cell body, which is called neuroplasm. Yes, cytoplasm name is only changed. Why the name is changed? Because it is present in the nerve cell. So we called it as your neuroplasm. What is neuroplasm, guys? It is the dense cytoplasm which is present in the cytosol or the cell body. Done. First point, what do you have to write? It's a broad, rounded, spherical structure. Second one, dense cytoplasm is present in the cell body, which can be called as your neuroplasm. And as you can see in the diagram, in the center. So guys, as you can see in the diagram in the cell body, at the center, exactly at the center, a spherical nucleus is present at the center. Yes guys, a spherical, round, large nucleus is present at the center of the cell body and cytosol. And again, my dear children, since I am speaking about the cells, cytoplasm and neuroplasm and all, you can say me one thing, cell organelles are present or not? Yes, of course, cell organelles are present in the cell body. And which type of cell organelles? Your mitochondria, your Golgi complex and some granules are present inside the cell body. That granules are called as your nasal granules. Yes, so now you can understand the structure of the cell body. First thing, the most important thing is that we are discussing about a single neuron. We are discussing about a typical single nerve cell. Done. What are the three main parts which makes the neuron? Cell body or cytosol. Yes, dendrites and axon. Now let's see what is a cell body or a cytosol. What structure it exhibits? The first structure is, it's a broad structure, it's a rounded structure, it's spherical structure. Yes, since it's a cell, cytoplasm is present, but here we can call it as neuroplasm. Yes, since neuroplasm is present, your cell organelles are present like mitochondria, Golgi body and some granules are present in the cytoplasm of the cell body. That is called as your nasal granules. And of course, at the center, a big central nucleus is present. And this is what the structure of the first part, that is cell body or cytosol. Understood? And now comes what is the function of this cell body or cytosol? What is the main function of this cell body or cytosol? First thing, it helps in growth. Yes, it plays a very, very vital role in the growth and maintenance of the body. Yes, and the most important function, it receives the impulse. Impulse, you guys know it. What is an impulse I am speaking about? I am speaking about nerve impulse. Yes, so this cell body, listen to me carefully. This cell body receives the impulse sent by these dendrites, sent by this branch structure. Can you see these branches? These branches are called as your dendrites, guys. And these dendrites sends the impulse, and that impulse is received by your cell body or cytosol. Yes, so what is the important function? The most important function of the cell body or cytosol? It receives the impulse sent by the dendrites of the neurons, and it also helps in the growth and maintenance of the body. Now you are clear about cell body and cytosol? Yes, लिख सकते हो. What do you have to write? It's a broad rounded structures. Central large nucleus is present. Dense cytoplasm called neuroplasm is present. In that neuroplasm, mitochondria, Golgi bodies and nasal granules are present. And main function is the growth and maintenance of the body. And the most important function is to receive the impulse sent by the dendrites of neuron. Understood? Now let's move on to the second part of the nerve cell or the second part of the neuron, which is your dendrites. And just now I told you what are dendrites. Yes, you can see this branched structure. Yes, guys. These branched structure, these short branched structures are nothing but your dendrites. Here also, these short branched structures are called as your dendrites. Yes, this short branch structure are called as your dendrites. And what is the function of these dendrites? The main function that it collects the information, it collects the messages, it sends the stimuli. Yes, it collects the information and sent to the cell body. I told you in the function of your cell body, it receives the impulse from the dendrites. Then what is the function of dendrite? It collects, it gathers the information, it gathers the impulse and send it to the cell body. Understood, guys? These are the two main parts of the neuron. Now let's see the third part of the neuron, which is your axon. Yes, let's see what axon is. How is the axon now? The last and the third part of the neuron or nerve cell is axon. You can see it's a long cylindrical structure. Isn't it? It's a long cylindrical structure. It's very long. It's a very long cylindrical structure and you can see at the terminal end. The terminal end is again a highly branched structure which we call it as dendrites. Yes, so the axons are very long, cylindrical structure and the terminal ends are highly branched and it has a knob-like structure. And when the connection between two nerves, yes, nerve cells, when two nerves are, this is the terminal end. Yes, guys, listen to me carefully. So this is the terminal end of the dendrites. Yes, this dendrite is connected with the dendrites of another neuron or another nerve cell. Yes, and that junction is called as your synapse. Yes, and in that synapse some chemicals are formed which helps in the transmission of the impulse from one neuron to another neuron. Understood or not? See? This is an axon. The axon is a long cylindrical structure and the end of the axon again a highly branched structure is present which we are calling it as dendrite. This dendrite, listen to me carefully, this dendrite is connected with the dendrites of another neuron or second neuron. Yes, and the place where there is a connection between two dendrites is there. That is called as synapse. Yes, and in that synapse, the junction between the two dendrites is called as a synapse and in that synapse what happens, some chemicals are formed and because of that chemicals, the nerve impulse or the messages are transferred from one neuron to another neuron. Yes, the messages are transferred from one neuron to another neuron and that junction is called as your synapse which is nothing but the neuromuscular junction. Yes, the neuromuscular junction is called as your synapse. And you can see it's a long cylindrical structure but some interruption is present. Yes, and that interruption or that nodes are called as your nodes of Ranvier. Yes, it's not continuous, guys. There are nodes are present and that nodes are called as your nodes of Ranvier. Yes, the nodes are called as your nodes of Ranvier. It's a long cylindrical structure. Interruption are present, nodes are present and that nodes are called as nodes of Ranvier. Here also nasal granules are present and these axons are surrounded or insulated by two sheets of your nerve fibers. Yes, it is covered by, it is surrounded by, it is insulated by two layers or two sheets of nerve fibers, and that nerve fibers and each sheath which insulates the axon is called as neurilemma. Yes, what it is called? Neurilemma. Neurilemma. Yes, the sheath which covers the axon is called as your neurilemma. So what is the structure of axon? Long cylindrical structure. Here also nucleus is present, covered by a layer or sheath which is called as neurilemma, and the junction of one dendrite and to another dendrite is called synapse, where the messages get transferred. Understood now, guys? So these three forms a typical nerve cells or neurons. Understood now? What is the structure of the neuron? What is the structure of a nerve cell? Now let's see how many types of neurons are there. Yes, how many types of neurons? Exactly, there are three main types of neurons are there. Yes, sensory neurons, motor neurons, and relay or association neurons. Understood, guys? So how many types? Now I am speaking about the types of neurons, types of nerve cells. How many types of neurons are there? Exactly 3 types of neurons are there. Sensory neurons. Yes, the first one is your sensory neurons, which is also called as effectors. Yes, the first one, sensory neuron, which is also called as receptor, which is also called as effector, which is also called as detector. Let me write it on the board. So just right now I told you there are 3 types of your neurons. The first one is your sensory neurons. The second one is your motor neurons. And the third one is your relay or association neurons. Yes, guys, there are 3 types of neurons. They are sensory neurons, motor neurons, and relay neurons. So sensory neurons, it can also be called as receptors or detectors. Why we are calling it as receptors and detectors? Come on, tell me. Why it is called as receptors or detectors? Why, guys? Why it is called as receptors and detectors? Because it can detect the change in environment. It can detect the stimuli. And who will detect that change in stimuli? Come on, tell me. Think for a while and tell me, who can detect the change in the environment? Who can detect the stimuli? Yes, come on, tell me. Of course, the sense organs, guys. Yes, the sense organs acts as a detectors. The sense organs acts as a receptor because they can sense the change in the environment. They can feel the change in the environment. They can feel the stimuli. Yes, and hence we called it as your receptors and detectors, the sense organs. The sense organs acts as a receptors and detectors, and this sensory neurons, listen, this sensory neurons transmits that impulse or transmits that messages or transmit that stimuli from the sense organs to the brain. Simply I will tell you, a change is detected by the sense organ. Sense organ will send the message to the brain. And who carries that message to the brain? Your sensory neurons. Who carries the messages? Who carries the impulse? Who carries the message of change in environment? Who carries it? Sensory neurons. To where? To our brain or spinal cord. To the central nervous system. समझ में आई? सीधी सी बात है. ठीक है, अगर कोई भी change होता है, whatever there is a change. Yes, whatever there is a change in the environment, stimuli, जो भी कुछ change होता है, सबसे पहले sense organ को पता चलता है. Yes, the sense organ will detect that change, and that change is carried by the neuron called sensory neuron. कहाँ पहुंचाता है? To our brain or spinal cord. So sense organs or your sensory neurons will transmit the message from the sense organs to the central nervous system. इसका काम लेने का है, भेजने, वापस भेजने वाला काम कौन करता है? Motor neurons. Yes, the second type of neurons is motor neurons, which is also called effectors. Again, I will ask you one question. Effectors, guys. Now, which are called as effectors? Same, exactly. The sense organ again acts as an effector because it has to show a reaction, and in our body, who will show reaction? The sense organs. Yes, the sense organ will show the reaction. So they are called as effectors. Means brain से जो भी messages वापस आता है, वो वापस लाने वाला काम कौन सा nerves करता है? It carries by your motor neurons. So motor neurons, yes, relay the messages or send back the impulse from the sense organs, from the central nervous to the sense organs. Yes, and third one is your relay or association neurons. Connecting both. They are called as connectors. Why they are called as connectors? Means they connect both the sensory neurons and motor neurons. So that's why we can call the association neurons as your connectors, because they connect both the sensory neurons as well as the motor neurons. I can give you one best example generally. Whenever there is a bite in mosquito, whenever a mosquito bites in your hand, the message is carried. The message is carried in the form of nerve impulse. And who will carry that message? Sensory neurons. Yes, the sensory neurons will carry the message of mosquito bitten to the brain by your sensory neurons. And brain uske liye ek message bhejega. The brain will again reply to that message. Yes, and who will carry that reply message? Motor neurons to the sense, jao machhar ko maro. Yes, that is a simple example I can give you for sensory neurons, motor neurons. Hope guys you understood about the types of neurons. Yes, generally what happens, how the messages travels, guys. How the message travels means, first of all, I will show you. I will show you in a diagram. So generally, how this nerve impulse travel whenever there is a stimuli or whenever there is a change. First of all, I told you it is detected by the sense organ, of course. So whenever there is a change in the environment, whenever there is a stimulus, yes, first it is received by the detectors or receptor. And who are the detectors and receptors, guys? I told you, sense organs. Yes, change detected by the sense organs. And who carries that change and message to the brain? I told you, sensory neurons. Yes, sensory neurons. And sensory neurons carries that impulse and reaches to the dendrite neuron, and from that dendrite will pass that nerve impulse to your cyton or cell body. We discussed in the structure. That cell body receives the nerve impulse from the dendrite. Again, this cell body pass the nerve impulse to axon, and just remember and correlate with the diagram of the nerve cell. From the axon, it reaches to the axon end. Then comes the synapse, the junction between the two dendrites, and again it is passed to the second neuron. Likewise, one neuron to second neuron to third neuron. Likewise, the messages ट्रांसफर. अगर सिंपल में आपको बताऊं तो सेंस ऑर्गन्स सबसे पहले डिटेक्ट करता है और वो डिटेक्शन होने के बाद दैट मैसेज इज कैरिड बाय द सेंसरी नर्व्स लेकर जाता है. सेंसरी न्यूरॉन्स मींस इट हैज गॉट 3 पार्ट्स. पहले कहां तक पहुंचेगा? डेंड्राइट. डेंड्राइट मैसेज भेजेगा साइटन और साइटन विल पास द मैसेज टू एक्सन. एक्सन से पहुंचेगा एक्सन एंड में. एक्सन एंड्स में synapse will take place and from that synapse again it will transfer to the second neuron. And likewise the nerve impulse will transfer throughout the body and the message finally reaches the brain. In the same manner the motor neurons carries the reply message. I think guys you are understanding the things what I am speaking here. Yes, please go through once again and check it whether you are clear or not. Yes, we will again meet with another session of nervous system. Up to that, please go and revise it. See you.